Alexa, ask my MicroStrategy server what is my profit for computers in 2016.
Profit for computers in 2016 is $145,288.
All right, Alexa and MicroStrategy. So how did I do this? Well, first thing you want to do is go over to my GitHub and download the set of files that you're going to need for this demonstration. I'll put a link in the video description. But before we get started, special thanks to Stephen Lippens. He's a solutions architect at MicroStrategy that actually put together a lot of the code for this that we're using. So thank you, Stephen. Now let's get started. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to developer.amazon.com and we're going to click on Alexa. And if you don't have an account, you're going to create one. But you're going to go create Alexa skills, start a skill, and this is where you'll enter the Alexa developer console, as they call it. And then we're going to come over and click this button on the right called create a skill. Okay, you're going to enter a skill name, so we'll call this MicroStrategy Alexa YouTube demo. You can call it anything you want, of course. And you can leave the defaults. Click Create Skill. And we'll do skill from scratch. So we'll choose that. Okay. The next thing we're going to want to do is on the left-hand side, we're going to scroll down to where it says JSON Editor. We're going to click that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to browse to those files that you downloaded from my GitHub. In there you will find a skill.json file. You're going to take that file, drag it over here onto the JSON editor, and then that will populate our JSON file. Now this is what's kind of initially sets up our skill. Okay. So now let's talk about this quickly. Oh wait, first we're going to want to save that model. Let's click Save first. Now let's come over to the left, and you'll see it change a little bit, right? So let's talk about this, what we have here. So let's go over to the left and click Invocation. Now this is the word that Alexa is going to listen for to use this skill, basically, right? So when we say Alexa demo skill, it's going to look at this skill and use this program, basically, right? Or skill, right? So what do we want to say, right? So we can say Alexa, ask, in my case I did ask MicroStrategy server. That's what I did in the demo, but you can do whatever you want. So let's say Alexa ask my MicroStrategy skill, right? And you could shorten it, but you can put anything you want in there. Okay, now when you say that, when you say Alexa ask my MicroStrategy skill, it's going to then look at this program that this skill here. Okay, that's going to invoke this skill. All right, so now let's talk about intents. The next one down. So as you can see, this was pre-populated by our JSON file, but this now is what part of this skill do you want it to use, right? So what do you want it to do, right? So now you've told it you've invoked this skill. Okay, now what do you want it to do, right? So here we have a default sentence in here. What is my profit for subcategory in year? Okay, so it's going to listen for this, and this is and when it gets this verbiage, when you speak this sentence to it, it's going to act. Okay, now you might be wondering, what are these things here? Subcategory year, right? So these are like variables. Okay, so you can pre-populate. They're called slots, but you can pre-populate this with a list of potential values. Okay, that the person can speak. Okay, so in this case, subcategory. So now let's go down to slots and look at that. Okay, so the slots, the actual definition of the slots are down here under slot types. So let's click subcategory. Okay, so you can see it only has electronics and books. So let's add, we want it to be able to query computers. So let's add a value. So in here we'll type computers. We'll click enter, and then we'll add that as a potential value down here. Now let's go into year. Right, so we want to be able to query 2016. I don't see that here, so let's add it. 2016, click enter. Okay. So now these are the potential values that someone can say, right? They're like variables. Now the next thing we're going to do is let's come down to endpoint over here. Now, eventually we're going to fill this in, but not yet. And we're going to use our AWS Lambda ARN. We're going to be populating this default region down here, but we don't have that yet. So let's get into that. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an AWS Lambda function. Now, what is this? Well, an AWS Lambda function is basically just like hosting code or hosting functions in the cloud. That's all it is, right? And in our case, this is going to contain the code that does the actual heavy lifting and connects to MicroStrategy, logs in, does all that stuff, okay? So we created our Alexa skill, and now we're going to create the code or upload the code that does the actual connecting with the skill and connects to MicroStrategy, okay? So we're going to create that piece. All right, so once you log into your Lambda dashboard here, you're going to come over here, you're going to click Create Function. You're going to author from scratch. You're going to give it a name. So we'll call this My Alexa Skill Demo. We're going to click Create Function. That's going to do its thing. Okay. Now it's going to open the designer. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to come down to the function code and we're going to upload a zip file. So now you're going to click the upload button. And what you're going to do is in the set of files that you downloaded from my GitHub, there will be a zip file in there. So we're going to upload that file. So I'll navigate to where I have it. And my demo skill Lambda, we're going to upload that. And then we're going to click Save. Okay, and that'll populate the code. Now, let's take a look at the code. The file we want to focus on here is this index.js file. And you'll see that over here in the tree view on the left, and you can click that and it will open. Now, what do we need here? There's a few parameters here at the top of the page, and this is really what we're concerned about. The project ID. So if you're using like the MicroStrategy tutorial project or what have you, you're going to right-click on your project and you'll see and go into properties, and that's where you'll find the project ID. The username and password for your environment. Then the web server, or if you're using like a cloud environment, you'd put that host here. And then the cube ID. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your environment. You're going to right-click on the particular cube, and I'll show you how to create the cube for this using the demo data in a second. But anyway, you're going to right-click that cube, go into Properties, and you're going to paste the ID here. Okay? Now, in case you're wondering how this code works, what it does is it uses the MicroStrategy RESTful API to interact with MicroStrategy. So that's basically what this code does. Now, once you do that, the next thing you want to do is you want to come up here. You're going to want to click Add Trigger. Then you're going to select Alexa Skills Kit. And the skill ID. You're going to go back to your developer console, your Alexa developer console. So keep that open. And you're going to see this skill ID right here. Your skill ID. You're going to copy to clipboard, and then you're going to paste that in here. And you're going to click Add. Okay, now you've added the permissions, you've allowed that Alexa skill kit to interact with this function. Also, just quickly want to mention that after you make changes to this Lambda function, just want to make sure you click Save in the upper right-hand corner. Now, the other thing you're going to want to do is, if you go all the way up in the upper right-hand corner by the Save button, you'll see this ARN, and you'll see a little button here where you can copy to clipboard. Click that button, so it copies this string to your clipboard. And now you're going to go back again to your Alexa developer console, and you're going to come down to endpoints, and this is where the same page where you copied your skill ID, and in the default region, this is now where you're going to paste that string. And then after you do that, click Save Endpoints. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is just save and build our model. So go ahead and click on Invocation, click Save Model, and then click on Build Model at the top. Oops, build failed. Okay, so we're going to have to change this. That's right, we can't have ask here. So we'll delete that, and then we'll click Save Model. So what we need to do is remove ask from our invocation name. So now to invoke this skill, we just have to say, Alexa, my MicroStrategy skill. So now you can click Build Model, and now it will build successfully. Okay, so now the build was successful. All right, now the last step before we test our Alexa skill, we're going to want to import the data that we're going to use for this demonstration. So go over to your environment, your MicroStrategy environment, and click Create. We're going to do Add External Data. Okay, we're going to do File from Disk. We're going to choose Files. We're going to click inside those files that you downloaded from my GitHub. There'll be a file named Dataset. Click that. Click Finish. We're going to give it a name. We'll just call it skill demo data. Save that. Okay. Now, last thing you want to do is you're going to want to get that ID so you can add it to your Lambda function. So I'll just show you how to do that. Right click, Properties, and you're going to take this series of letters and numbers here, this ID. So you're going to copy that, and then you want to add that to the spot in the Lambda function that I showed you earlier. All right. So once you've added the data set to your MicroStrategy project, and then you've added that the corresponding IDs to the Lambda function where I showed you, you can come back to your Alexa Developer Console, click on Test at the top, and now you can type in a sentence to test the skill. Also, make sure you choose development from the drop-down box before you test this. And what that actually does is, which is really cool, is that allows you, as long as your Alexa device, your physical device, is using the same account as your developer account, you can actually test this not only from this webpage, but you can actually test this from your actual Alexa device as well, like you saw in the beginning of this video. So we can say, ask MicroStrategy, what was it, my MicroStrategy skill, my MicroStrategy skill, what is my profit for computers in 2015?
Profit for computers in 2015 is $107,723.
And there you have it. You've successfully connected Alexa to MicroStrategy. All right, so that'll do it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And also check out jamestechtips.com for more BI-related content. And thanks for watching.